Update: am I the butthole for asking my sister to leave after she tried to kick me out of my own house? It has been a few months since my last post and a lot has changed. After Christmas, my sister called me to apologize for what she had said. She told me she had been dealing with a lot of issues at that time, and she didn't mean what she said. I felt sorry for her. I really did, so I told her all was okay and that she and Roger are forgiven. Fast forward a month, Emily and Roger are getting separated. I don't know their business, but I know that financial problems were a big part of it. She had asked to stay with me again and I, feeling sorry for her, said okay. The first day she came to stay with me was great. We got along well, ordered takeout and watched a movie together, something we haven't done since we were very young. Keep in mind that my house has 3 bedrooms, one belongs to me, one is a guest bedroom, and one is just a pretty much empty room. I decided to furnish the smaller guest room instead of the bigger one as I keep my violin and other instruments in there. She was staying in my guest bedroom, a very small space with just a bed and a nightstand. This was a downgrade from her living space, but she didn't seem to mind. About 2 nights after she came, she asked if there's any way that she can switch the rooms. Keep in mind that I had no idea how long she was planning on staying, so I didn't think it was a big deal. The room has a comfortable bed and a nightstand with some drawers. It's not permanent, and so I told her no. This was when the bigger problems started. She began to leave her dirty clothes and dishes all over the floor. She'd stained a quilt that a close friend of mine had made for me with food. I asked her to please keep my rooms tidy and she started to break down crying. She told me she was feeling very down and that she is sorry. I understand this sort of thing, but I still asked her to keep tidy as she was living here for free. She kept doing it, however, and I asked her to leave again to stay with my parents. Dick move? Maybe, but the room was dirty and smelled disgusting. A few of my friends say I'm too harsh with her, but I had really tried to get along with her, but we just don't work. She didn't give my parents her sob story this time, though, and so there were no more fights with my parents. Fast forward again to last week, my sister gives me a call and apologizes. She told me that she knows we can never be friends, but she hopes we can be civil. I said absolutely. I want to take a moment to thank all of the people who took time to respond to me. You guys helped me get through Christmas, 2020. You made the right call both times. Good luck with everything. Yes, not the butthole. Distance yourself from her. Not the butthole when entitlement crashes headlong into depression. You get your sister's behavior. The only thing I would suggest is that you should have set clear boundaries and expectations with your sister before she moved in a second time. Also, while it was both kind and gracious of you to let her move in with you after the last time, you really should never let anyone move in without a move-out date to which you've both agreed. Finally, you, and your parents, may want to consider why your sister continues to do crappy things and acting badly, and then gets away with no consequences simply by apologizing after the fact. The solution is not to apologize after acting like garbage, but not to act like garbage in the first place. You let her treat you badly, then she just says, oopsie, sorry and all is forgiven? Her life is in the garbage bin right now. It's not an excuse and barely an explanation for acting so horribly, especially to someone doing them a big favor and showing them kindness after having been burned so recently. What bugs me is Op's friends saying Op's too harsh. No, she's not, and their sister's not parent and child. Yay, this was the part that bugs me. She was having a bad time and going through some personal crap, but I'm not seeing anything that excuses the thought process in which she thought she could move in indefinitely just to turn around and say we'd like to have a Christmas alone so get lost. It wasn't an overreaction in the heat of the moment. It was an intentional decision. And when original poster said no, they slandered him to his own family for not bending over for them. Then, original poster gives her another chance and she again pushes for more, trashes the place when she doesn't get her way, and once again uses her personal problems as an excuse. I get that original poster wants to move on and save the relationship, but her behavior in both of these scenarios wasn't acceptable. I think original poster is a woman. Yes, she is. I kind of got the idea that the Christmas thing came from the husband. And it was related to her failing marriage. Still crap, but if sister was motivated by saving her marriage and life as she knows it, I can see how in that state she could justify to herself asking her sister to give them space. Still entitled and an move, but I don't think it means she's a total puss. Yeah, if the sister's first apology was at all genuine, it makes sense that the original request was driven more by her husband. Not that it excuses her in any way, but it tracks logically. I think through just offering forgiveness the moment she apologizes has normalized her behavior. She knows she can do what she wants because at the end of the day, she can just offer an apology and all is forgiven and forgotten without her having to put work into changing or gaining people's trust back. Not the butthole this. Sounds like she's depressed and going through something but spoiled and entitled otherwise. It's not hard to be a gracious and grateful guest. Exactly. Depression is no excuse. I deal a lot with depression. If I didn't have a choice and stayed at someone else's place, I would do my best to be invisible and make sure I'm not a bother to other people. I'm glad someone points out the need for discussing rules from the start. Usually I'm someone who is clear on rules and I worry about if that takes the joy out of things. But rules allow for fun and harmony, and I am not afraid to say it. Not the butthole. Everything you are saying is good advice for a well-adjusted family dynamic. Maybe I'm projecting, but I see a lot of my sister and me in these two stories. My sister is a narcissist, everything in my youngest sister and me, world growing up was centered on our middle sister, narcissist. Let's call youngest is Beth and middle is Kathy. If Kathy pitched a fit, no matter how ridiculous, my parents refused to step in and told Beth or I to work it out ourselves or to stop being so emotional. Which always meant Beth or I ended up just letting Kathy have her way. If Kathy was upset about something Beth, I did, or had, all of a sudden parents swoop in to make sure that Kathy got what was fair. All this to say, you start to fall into this pattern. Kathy makes my life miserable to the point that I kick her out of my life or set a giant boundary, and so she goes off to my parents. My parents pretend nothing is happening or that I'm being dramatic. Then the same thing happens with Beth. We both eventually take her back and put up with her stomping all over boundaries because in our weakest moments we think that everyone can behave and respect one another like a normal family. Something we refuse to admit we'll never have, while knowing we won't. I'm not saying this is a healthy way to live. I'm just wondering if there's a personality disorder in one of the parents or the sister, compounded by the obvious depression of the sister that makes original poster continue hoping for a normal familial relationship based on respect, despite not getting it. My advice would be, therapy to learn how to set realistic boundaries with Op's family, and learning how to untangle Op's relationship with her sister, from a transactional relationship, only doing well when original poster has something to give sister, to a real relationship if that's possible. Not sure, this good advice translates as well into reality. I have never liked when people choose to ask for forgiveness instead of asking for permission first. Crafty behavior is still crafty behavior. Reminds me of this one girl in 3rd grade who wanted to do my work for me but she scribbled all over my paper she apologized and I believed her. She did it about 2 more times? Until I threatened to tell my teacher and first time of my threat she did it again and I decided to walk over to the teacher's desk to tell her that Chrissy insisted on doing my work but all she was doing was scribbling all over my paper and then she stopped. I can't remember what happened afterwards. I think either I did the work myself or she did it for me correctly. Still not the butthole. Sounds like your sister has some stuff to work out that has nothing to do with you. Life isn't that black and white. She has tried to help twice. Also, it's not sister's job to be a therapist. I'd agree that she should point out these issues and suggest she work with a professional. Also, she didn't kick her out for asking to move to a larger room. She kicked her out for sanitary issues in the room she is letting her stay in for free for a second time. Are we reading the same content? And on top of that, it seems like the sister is able to go to their parents' house anyways. So, it's really simple. 1. Op opens up a place in their home. 2. No, a bigger room isn't an option because original poster is using that room. 3. Sister retaliates by becoming uncleanly, consciously or subconsciously, whatever. 4. Original poster asks her what's up, airing out that the behavior isn't ideal. 5. Sister doesn't change. 6. Original poster asks her to go to parents' house. Pretty clear cut here that original poster made as many opportunities as possible while still maintaining boundaries of her own life and her own expectations for her house. Not the butthole, and I hope the sister is able to get on her feet. That's an awesome trait for you to have. I commend you. However, it's important to note that minor issue is relative and subjective. It also depends on the context. Leaving dirty dishes in the sink is somewhat minor. If I'm allowing a person to stay in my house for free as a favor and they keep leaving dirty dishes in the sink after I've conveyed to them not to multiple times, it is no longer a minor issue. Also, as much as you may not like it, I'm allowed to set the rules in my house. So if you're staying, you better follow the rules. Pretty straightforward. She kicked her out once she started leaving dishes with food and dirty clothes around the house. She gave her more than one chance to correct the behavior. Well, now you know that her initial unreasonableness was not a one-time thing, or the result of specific stress from the time. It's just her being entitled and disrespectful towards other people's things. Sounds like being civil is a good resolution here. You'll still have to see each other for family events, so don't burn that bridge completely. But you certainly shouldn't be doing her any more big favors now that you know how she responds. I call this managing a relationship. There is nothing to gain by pursuing a relationship, but you aren't actively distancing yourself / going no contact because the fallout is just not worth the energy or drama. You know, depression doesn't tend to be a one-time thing either. I'm not defending the sister's actions as they were clearly wrong, but depression can be a big obstacle in life that skews your view of reality. I moved in with my brother for a bit while also going through the worst bout of depression in my life. I had no motivation or energy and felt like a burden. I didn't make messes, quite the opposite. I cleaned constantly to get my mind off things, but being that down and feeling like a burden are a terrible combination to experience. The sister went from having a normal life, to divorcing and needing help from others for basic things like shelter. She probably felt unsure, ashamed and like a burden, which is why it makes sense that she apologized multiple times and even tried to be civil original poster even though she had already moved out. Again, her lashing out or seeming entitled are not okay, but it sure would be nice to see a bit more compassion in the comments. Get rid of those friends, honestly. They aren't supporting you and apparently see you as inexhaustible source of hospitality for others. How about they expect people to have a little bit of compassion for their siblings? She just got divorced and can't even live in a decent-sized room because it's a small inconvenience. I hate Reddit's detached view of society. Because on real life, she is the butthole. She got the bigger room though. And she didn't clean it. I remember reading your original post and thinking what an outrageous request from your sister. Looking at what's happened now, there seems to be a lot that your sister has to figure out on her own. You're being incredibly patient and understanding with her, while at the same time not wavering on your very fair boundaries. Good luck, and you're doing a great job. Woof. I feel bad for your sister because it sounds to me like she's dealing with some serious depression right now, but I still understand kicking her out. Agreed. The sister is in butthole all around, but I think it's because she's depressed and dealing with mental health issues, not because she's intentionally selfish. I just can't imagine ever ringing up my other siblings and saying I know we can never be friends. WTF. I think this is being said through the lens of someone who is profoundly depressed and in crisis. It sounds dramatic and might be, but I think the sister's ability to see things through a lens that's not polarizing all of her relationships isn't working right now. Seriously, I was thinking the same thing. I wouldn't want to live with most of my friends or my brothers long term. A week or two, no problem. That doesn't mean we're not friends or I don't like them. Neither can I. We would never bother saying something so obvious to each other. They're just not friends, it's their reality. That makes it seem like she's in the middle of a breakdown to me. Sounds like you have no idea what it's like to have a sibling you can barely get along with. Yes, thus my inability to imagine it. It must suck, I guess, but then different people are wired different ways, so perhaps for some it's not such a bad thing? It sounds like original poster's sister is trying to start some unnecessary drama, hoping original poster will take the bait and come running to her to fix their relationship. As someone who crafts and knows how much time and skill goes into making a quilt, having someone else stain a quilt that a friend lovingly made for me would make me very upset. Guests have an obligation also, no matter what hard luck story they are living. You were kind enough to let her stay in your place. She should appreciate that and not trash your place. It's just good manners. Instead of appreciating what you were doing for her, she took advantage of it. So she got what she deserved. So, people who are depressed to the point of nearly not being able to care for themselves need to get what they deserve. Have you ever been extremely depressed? It's not something you turn on and off or snap out of to make sure you're functioning, as you should be. Were her actions wrong? Yes, and she apologized. I'm sure she did appreciate the original poster. But showing that and functioning can be extremely difficult in that state of mind. This is why people feel alone and end up taking their own lives. Thanks for the update. I'm sorry that you two couldn't reconcile, but it seems like you did the right thing. Your sister may need some professional help if she is suffering from depression, but that is a decision she has to make all by herself. Thanks for the update. I think your sister needs a lot of emotional support, but it's also important that you enforce your own personal boundaries. So good for you. The most ideal situation would be for her to seek professional help since she seems to be hurting a lot. Sounds very depressed. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.